Hi everyone, I'm Ryan J. Wells and welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to talk about something that might surprise you. How kindness, if not practiced wisely, can actually ruin your life. I know it sounds shocking, but stick with me because this is something many people don't realize until it's too late. We've all heard that kindness is a virtue, that being nice to others will bring us happiness and success. But what if I told you that too much kindness, without setting proper boundaries, can lead to exhaustion, resentment, and even missed opportunities? In today's video, I'm going to share 5 ways that kindness can ruin your life, and more importantly, how you can avoid falling into these traps by finding a balance between being kind and taking care of yourself. Before we dive in, if you enjoy this kind of content, don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and click the bell icon so you never miss an update. Let's get started. 1. People will take advantage of you. Let's start with the first point. When you're overly kind, people will start to take advantage of you. I've seen this happen so many times, both in my own life and in the lives of others. When you always say yes to every request, people start to assume that you'll always be there for them, no matter what. They'll ask for favors, borrow money, or expect you to drop everything to help them, regardless of your own commitments or well-being. And because you're kind, you'll say yes, even when it's inconvenient or when it stretches you too thin. I remember a time when a close friend asked me to help them move. It was a busy weekend for me, but I didn't want to let them down, so I agreed. I spent the entire weekend helping them lift heavy furniture, carrying boxes up and down flights of stairs. By the end of it, I was physically and emotionally drained. What made it worse was that my friend barely acknowledged the effort I had put in. They thanked me briefly, but there was no real sense of appreciation. That was the moment I realized I had been giving too much and receiving too little in return. As Maya Angelou once said, "When someone shows you who they are, believe them the first time." This experience taught me that I needed to set boundaries. People won't always value your kindness the way they should, and if you don't set limits, they'll keep taking and taking until you're left with nothing. So how do you stop this from happening? It starts by learning to say no when necessary. I know it's uncomfortable, especially if you're used to being the person everyone depends on. But setting boundaries is crucial if you want to protect your time, energy, and mental health. Remember, you can still be kind without allowing others to take advantage of you. In fact, Lao Tzu said it best. Kindness in words creates confidence. Kindness in thinking creates profoundness. Kindness in giving creates love. The key here is balance. Be kind, but also be kind to yourself. 2. You become a pushover. The second way that unchecked kindness can ruin your life is by turning you into a pushover. When you're always prioritizing others' needs over your own, you send a message. My needs don't matter as much. Over time, people will start to expect you to agree with everything they say, follow their plans, and never challenge them. It's like being caught in a cycle where you feel obligated to make everyone happy. I've been there myself. There was a time when I would go along with plans or decisions, even if deep down I disagreed. I thought that by keeping the peace, I was being kind and preserving relationships. But what I was really doing was silencing my own voice. And the more I did this, the harder it became to stand up for myself. There was a particular instance with a colleague where I constantly found myself agreeing to extra work. I didn't want to seem difficult or selfish, so I kept saying yes. After a while, it became an expectation. When I finally mustered the courage to say no, they were shocked and even tried to make me feel guilty. It made me realize how far I had let things go. Asserting your needs isn't selfish, it's essential. As Brené Brown wisely said, daring to set boundaries is about having the courage to love ourselves, even when we risk disappointing others. And that's exactly what I had to learn. Disappointing others doesn't make you a bad person, especially when you're simply taking care of yourself. People may accuse you of being selfish or unkind when you start setting boundaries, but that's only because they've become used to you always saying yes. The truth is, kindness without self-respect is a recipe for resentment. You'll end up feeling used and frustrated, while the other person keeps benefiting. So, what's the solution? Start small. Practice saying no to requests that don't align with your priorities. Remember, true kindness doesn't mean always agreeing or keeping others happy. It means being kind to yourself first, and that sometimes means asserting your own needs. As Oscar Wilde once said, "Selfishness is not living as one wishes to live. It is asking others to live as one wishes to live." By standing up for yourself, you're simply living in alignment with your own truth, and there's nothing selfish about that. 3. Kindness can hold you back from success. The third way kindness can ruin your life is by holding you back from success. In today's competitive world, it's often the assertive, the ambitious, and sometimes even the ruthless who get ahead. I know that may sound harsh, but it's the reality of many industries and environments. To achieve success, sometimes you need to take risks, make tough decisions, and put yourself first. I remember a time early in my career when I had the opportunity to take on a leadership role. I was well qualified and had the experience to succeed, but I hesitated. I didn't want to appear too pushy or step on anyone's toes. I kept telling myself that being kind and humble would eventually get me noticed. Well, it didn't. The opportunity went to someone else, someone who was less experienced but more assertive. Looking back, I realized that my desire to be seen as nice held me back from seizing an opportunity that could have advanced my career. As Steve Jobs once said, "Your time is limited, so don't waste it living someone else's life." That hit me hard when I reflected on that experience. I had been so focused on making sure I didn't upset anyone or come across as too aggressive that I missed out on something that could have been life-changing for me. In many cases, the people who move up the ladder are the ones willing to take a stand, speak up, and fight for what they want. That doesn't mean you have to be unkind or selfish, but you can't be afraid to advocate for yourself and your goals. As Ayn Rand once said, "The question isn't who is going to let me, it's who is going to stop me." When you're too focused on being nice, you risk letting others dictate your path. And in the end, you might miss out on the success you deserve. So how can you break this cycle? Start by recognizing that kindness doesn't have to mean self-sacrifice. It's possible to be both kind and ambitious. Don't shy away from opportunities out of fear of what others might think. Advocate for yourself, go after your goals, and remember that being nice shouldn't come at the cost of your own success. 4. Kindness can prevent you from being authentic. The fourth way that excessive kindness can ruin your life is by preventing you from being truly authentic. When you're overly focused on being kind and not offending anyone, you often end up hiding your true thoughts and feelings. You start to mold yourself into what others want you to be, rather than staying true to who you really are. I've been there myself. There was a time when I constantly held back my opinions to avoid upsetting people. In conversations, I'd nod in agreement, even when I didn't fully agree. I didn't want to be seen as confrontational or make anyone uncomfortable. But over time, I realized something important. I was losing touch with my true self. I wasn't being honest with myself or with others. And that lack of authenticity made me feel disconnected from the people around me. It's exhausting pretending to be someone you're not, and eventually it catches up with you. As Ralph Waldo Emerson once said, "To be yourself in a world that is constantly trying to make you something else is the greatest accomplishment." This quote resonates with me because it highlights how important it is to remain true to yourself, even when it feels easier to go along with the crowd. People can sense when you're not being genuine. They might not say anything outright, but over time they begin to question whether they can truly trust you. This creates a gap in your relationships because deep down, we all crave honesty and real connection. Pretending to be someone else might keep things smooth on the surface, but it prevents deeper, more meaningful connections from forming. I learned that real kindness is about being honest and compassionate, not about pleasing everyone all the time. You don't have to sugarcoat your thoughts or suppress your feelings to be kind. As Oprah Winfrey once said, "What I know for sure is that speaking your truth is the most powerful tool we all have." That's a lesson I had to embrace. The power of authenticity. So, how do you find that balance? Practice being honest, but with compassion. It's possible to speak your truth in a way that doesn't hurt others unnecessarily. By being authentic, you'll not only feel more connected to your true self, but you'll also attract people who appreciate you for who you really are, not the version of you that's just trying to please everyone else. 5. Kindness can lead to burnout. The fifth and final way that excessive kindness can ruin your life is by leading to burnout. When you're constantly giving to others without taking the time to replenish your own energy, it's only a matter of time before you hit a wall. Burnout doesn't just affect your physical health. It can also leave you emotionally drained, resentful, and disconnected from your own needs. I've experienced this firsthand. There was a period in my life when I said yes to everything. Every favor, every request, every event. I thought I was doing the right thing, being there for everyone. But in reality, I was neglecting myself. I remember one particular stretch of time where I was helping out a lot of people at work, then coming home and helping friends or family with their own issues. I barely had any time to rest, and slowly, I started to feel exhausted, not just physically, but emotionally. I had nothing left to give, and worse, I started feeling resentful towards the very people I was trying to help. Burnout sneaks up on you when you least expect it. As Anne Lamott said, "Almost everything will work again if you unplug it for a few minutes, including you." That's a powerful reminder of the importance of rest and self-care. You can't pour from an empty cup, and if you try, you'll only end up feeling more drained and disconnected from the people around you. One of the hardest lessons I've had to learn is that taking care of yourself is not selfish, it's essential. As Audre Lorde so wisely put it, "Caring for myself is not self-indulgence, it is self-preservation, and that is an act of political warfare." In a world that constantly pushes us to give more, do more, and be more, taking time for yourself is an act of courage. So how do you prevent burnout? It starts with recognizing that your own well-being matters just as much as anyone else's. Learn to set boundaries, even with those you care about. Make time for rest and rejuvenation. And most importantly, give yourself permission to say no when you need to. At the end of the day, if you don't take care of yourself, you won't be able to take care of anyone else effectively. By prioritizing your own health, both mental and physical, you'll have more energy, more focus, and more ability to give to others in a meaningful way. Remember, true kindness starts with being kind to yourself. Now that we've explored the 5 ways that kindness, when unchecked, can ruin your life, I want to emphasize something important. Kindness in itself is not the problem. In fact, the world needs more kindness, compassion, and understanding. But kindness without boundaries, without self-care, and without authenticity can become a burden rather than a strength. So, what's the solution? It's about balance. You need to find a way to be kind and compassionate, while also taking care of yourself. That means learning to say no when you need to, setting boundaries, and being honest with yourself and others about your needs and limits. It's not easy at first, and it may feel uncomfortable, but the long-term benefits are worth it. As the Dalai Lama once said, "Compassion is not religious business. It is human business. It is not luxury. It is essential for our own peace and mental stability. It is essential for human survival." True compassion includes yourself in the equation, and that's something we all need to practice. When you start setting boundaries and prioritizing your own well-being, you'll notice a shift. You'll have more energy and enthusiasm for the things that truly matter to you. Your relationships will become deeper and more meaningful because they'll be based on mutual respect and understanding. And perhaps most importantly, you'll feel more at peace with yourself because you're living in alignment with your own values and truth. So, as you go forward, I encourage you to practice kindness, but remember to start with yourself. Be kind to others, but don't forget to show that same kindness to the person looking back at you in the mirror. Before we wrap up, I'd love to hear from you. Have you ever struggled with being too kind at your own expense? How have you learned to set boundaries in your own life? Let me know in the comments below. And if you found this video helpful, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the channel for more content like this. Thank you for spending this time with me today. Remember, you matter just as much as anyone else, and taking care of yourself is the greatest gift you can give to the world. See you in the next video.